From dominating his opponents with his long reach to giving Khabib's protege everything he's got. This is why Alexander Volkanovski is a better champion than Yair Rodríguez. Starting with how hard it is not to root for Alexander Volkanovski. Rodríguez will enjoy his height advantage in this matchup, but going against taller and stronger opponents has never been a problem for Volkanovski. His ability to close the distance and his powerful strikes while in a clinch are insane. But there's more to him and why he's the better champion. For starters, he's the current UFC featherweight champion. He clinched the title at UFC 245, where he showcased his skills and secured a unanimous decision victory over Max Holloway. Since then, he's been nothing but dominant, defending his belt successfully on 4 occasions. Let's not forget his impressive victories over other tough competitors like Brian Ortega and Jung Chan Sung, which only solidified his status as a badass in the UFC. However, his journey to greatness hit a roadblock when he challenged Islam Makhachev for the UFC lightweight title. Despite his best efforts, he came up short, losing to a unanimous decision at UFC 284. This setback didn't dial down his spirits one bit. Rodríguez also showcased his skills that night when he went up against Josh Emmett for the interim featherweight title. He won through a triangle choke submission in the second round. Speaking of Emmett has his eyes locked on the upcoming main event at UFC 284 because it could probably have a major impact on his fighting career. If Volkanovski loses, he'll simply make his way back to featherweight and defend his title against either Emmett or Rodríguez. However, if Volkanovski snatches a second UFC title, it might put a temporary hold on his next featherweight bout. Don't worry though, Volkanovski has made it clear that becoming a 2-division champion is a big priority for him. The man wants to defend belts in multiple weight classes. Emmett trusts Volkanovski's word that he'll return to featherweight, even if he's sporting an extra belt on his shoulder after Saturday. Emmett doesn't get too invested in fights that don't involve him or his teammates, but he's definitely interested to see how Volkanovski fares against Makhachev in the lightweight division. There's more to Volkanovski than meets the eye, and Emmett knows it. When it comes to experience, Volkanovski holds the upper hand. He has an impressive record of 25 wins and 2 losses in his 27 fights. After a defeat in his early days against Corey Nelson, Volkanovski went on an incredible 22-fight winning streak, establishing himself as a dominant force in the featherweight division. Sure, his loss to Makhachev broke his streak, but it also fueled his hunger for redemption and more success. The fact that he was willing to go up against a bigger fighter shows his enthusiasm for facing challenges. As a featherweight moving up in weight class, Volkanovski faced doubts from some, including Makhachev, who believed that the reigning UFC lightweight champion would be too small to keep up with him. He lost, but he held his own against Khabib Nurmagomedov's protege inside the octagon. Now he has a new challenge against the interim UFC featherweight champion Yair Rodríguez. While Volk is a beast, he regards Rodríguez as a dangerous fighter with incredible skill and versatility. After all, El Pantera has a way of finishing his fights both on the feet and on the ground, making him a legitimate threat to Volkanovski's championship reign. During an interview with Oscar Willis of The Mac Life, Volkanovski emphasized the need to take Rodríguez seriously because of his unpredictability, knockout power, and a wide array of tools. This also makes Volkanovski a better champion because he knows how important it is to compare a fighter's past and present versions, and Volkanovski sees a lot of growth in his opponent's skills. This is why he's been working on a strategic game plan to make sure his hand is raised in victory. Rodríguez used to rely heavily on flashy techniques within a specific range, and now he's become comfortable fighting at all ranges, which makes him pretty unpredictable. Regardless of the distance or position, Rodríguez can launch a bunch of strikes from multiple angles. But here's the thing, all this fuels his excitement for the opportunity to use his game planning, fight IQ, and strategic skills. So he's actually looking forward to the challenge and overcoming his unique fighting style. With his confidence and determination, Volkanovski will likely solidify his position as one of the world's greatest fighters and continue his reign as the UFC featherweight champion. Going into the fight with Rodríguez, you can bet that Volkanovski's strength, technique, and experience as a champ will give him the upper hand. But the real question is whether or not Yair Rodríguez is truly a threat. While Volkanovski may have lost the main event against Islam Makhachev, many agreed with the decision, calling it a close fight. but it's hard to deny that Volkanovski's popularity went nuts after that match. He was already recognized as a fearsome featherweight champ, but when he went head-to-head with a bigger opponent like Makhachev, he managed to shut down some of his wrestling moves. Of course, he was dropped in the 5th round and lost after some good old ground and pound, but it was Volkanovski's inspiring performance as the underdog that made him the bigger star. Who can say that his ability to turn the main event into a nail-biter wasn't impressive? It's probably why he's considered the favorite going into his fight against Rodríguez, despite beating Josh Emmett and grabbing the interim featherweight title. ESPN reporter Jeff Wagenheim gave him only a 9% chance of defeating Volkanovski. This prediction is based on observing how the champion handled Max Holloway in 3 encounters, and was victorious against the legendary Jose Aldo, who's considered by many to be the greatest featherweight of all time. Volkanovski gave Makhachev the toughest challenge of his career. Although Rodríguez dazzled fans at UFC 284, it's worth noting that Josh Emmett isn't on the same level as Makhachev. Not to mention, Volkanovski's accomplishments and accolades extend beyond his UFC success, especially in the eyes of ESPN, which rank him as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. This is a testament to his exceptional skills and dominance. Since his debut in 2016, Volkanovski has been defeated only twice in the UFC. This just goes to show how consistent and resilient he is inside the octagon. Plus, he successfully defended his UFC featherweight championship title on 4 different occasions. But what makes him an even better champ is his background in rugby before he transitioned to MMA. Standing against opponents who tower over him, including massive front rowers in rugby, is like child's play for him. Despite all the negativity, Volkanovski has consistently proven his doubters wrong. He outperformed and overpowered opponents who were physically larger, showcasing his determination and spirit. This pattern of overcoming challenges and surpassing expectations has been a defining aspect of his career, and it continues to fuel his motivation heading into his fight with Rodríguez. It's essential to know that Volkanovski willingly moved up a weight class to challenge Makhachev at UFC 284. While Makhachev had a height advantage at 5 foot 10 inches, Volkanovski has seen much larger opponents in his rugby league days. The heavyweights he faced on the rugby field made Makhachev seem small. While Rodríguez definitely has impressive skills, Volkanovski isn't afraid. He sees the potential challenges that lie ahead, but he tries to stay confident in his abilities. As always, critics have questioned Volkanovski's decision to move up a weight class for this fight, suggesting that he should have continued facing fighters in his own division. But for him, the motivation extends beyond seeking validation or proving how tough he is. He genuinely believes in his capacity to become the winner. Of course, this is all because of his training and his desire to push his limits. By challenging himself against opponents in higher weight classes, Volkanovski aims to inspire underdogs and individuals who feel underestimated or undersized. As the fight with Rodríguez gets closer, Volkanovski stands as a shining example of what it means to push beyond your comfort zone. He embraces the role of the underdog and thrives on proving his doubters wrong. Sure, Volkanovski has primarily showcased his striking skills as the reigning UFC featherweight champion, but his upcoming bout against Rodríguez will probably put his wrestling abilities to the test. Although Volkanovski has been known for his striking abilities, his early career in the UFC demonstrated his wrestling skills as well. I suppose it'll be interesting to see how he uses those skills against his new target. So, from giving Khabib's protege everything he's got, to dominating his opponents from a distance with his long reach, this was why Alexander Volkanovski is a better champion than Yair Rodríguez.